Exposing Conf and Willie, again part 2. Okay, just so we know what online predators are. Online predators are internet users who exploit children and teens for sexual and violent purposes. This may include child grooming, engage in sexual activities, unwanted exposure of materials and pictures, online harassment, threats to cause fear or embarrassment. Now with that out way, look at this. As crazy it seems, they are using this server and other servers to stalk me, because they always had sexual interest in me, which is why they're obsessed over me. The picture of my ass he seems to be so fond of is me when I was 14 years old. He's even engaging in sharing sexual photos with minors online, sexing about me. Skippy has admitted to being 13 years old. Let me show you actual cases I found on YouTube of online creeps.
I may be a little psycho, but it's okay because we're all a little messed up in the head if you really think about it. The woman would do her best to ignore these creepy advances, and after Kyo finds himself being, rejected and ignored, he starts getting aggressive over time. I know who your real life friends are, and don't even ask me what I'm going to do because it's all just thoughts and plans right now, and even if I had it all figured out, I would not tell. Maybe there's a third option called I will ruin your already pathetic life. Now that was not a threat, it was just me telling you what will happen. One email from the man said that he couldn't walk away and would keep trying and fighting until she said yes to him. I just can't stop thinking about you. As time passed, his threats of life ruination would eventually evolve into threats of physical harm, violence, murder, and
Is it starting to make sense? And how you see how my online creeps behave in the same manner.
I will do it, and I will do it my way. I will locate your house.
So online creeps do try to find the address of the victims they're harassing. They leaked a random guy IP trying to say it's me, showcasing these stalkers are willing to go to great lengths over me. And the address they showed is of a random person who has no relation to them.
Till 4 to 5 a.m. and then I will sneak in, and then I will more than likely take you to my rented or bought place. Then I guess I'll just wait a little. You wake up, and now the best part. We will talk a little, and then I will make you SM, and then I will shave you bald and strip you naked. I will rape you and make you pregnant, and then I will tie you up and will torture you for hours, which will basically be me using my whip and other tools I brought with me to make you suffer and hopefully feel what I have felt all these years.
Sounds familiar. Is it starting to make sense? How these creeps match the description almost flawlessly of what an online creep is.
I won't stop hitting you before your body is all bright red. And then I guess I'll just end it all and stab you in the chest with a kitchen knife and watch you slowly die. And then after your last breath, I will take that same knife and stab myself. In light of all these heinous communications, the YouTube content creator would eventually block Hyunnae off of practically every social media that she could think of.
Which is exactly what I did. But blocking people who are obsessed with you doesn't stop them.
But this wouldn't stop the deranged lunatic in his obsessive quest to be with the girl, as Kyo managed to unearth the woman's home address and began sending an onslaught of unwanted snail mail packages and letters. This egregious stalking behavior would no longer be tolerated by the RuneScape content creator, and she would notify the police over Kyo's communications.
For whoever IP they leaked. If you see this video, you may need to contact the police about this.
This resulted in Kyo being visited and questioned by Estonian police, the country that the man resided in. However, Kyo apparently managed to avoid being arrested after persuading law enforcement that his communications were nothing more than an elaborate trolling bit or joke.
All creeps use that as an excuse.
In all reality though, Kyo's obsession was far more serious, and we'll soon find that the man was willing to go to disturbingly extreme lengths to get close to his obsession.
Like my creeps who are trying to find out where I live.
In April of 2018, during the peak of his delusion, Kyo, fully knowledgeable of the RuneScape streamer's address, books a flight to the UK. His mission? Force an interaction with the woman by showing up at her home. Shortly after landing in Liverpool, Kyo traveled to the woman's residence. He knocked on the door and reportedly asked if anyone was home. The woman immediately suspected it was Kyo and panicked. But fortunately, the YouTuber's father was at the house at this time. The father would open the door and managed to convince Kyo that he had the wrong address. Kyo then went on his way, reportedly soliciting other addresses in the area, searching for his RuneScape obsession.
Online creeps do try to get the address of whoever they're harassing. Isn't it exactly what WillingAz9 and Conf did and his accomplices? As you can see, it's slowly starting to make sense. These are online creeps who are matching even real-life cases on YouTube of online creeps.
Meanwhile, the girl's father notified local police about the situation and the man's stalking behavior. Kyo would return to the area the following day and was eventually spotted by police who had been given his description. Cops attempted to peacefully confront the stalker, but Kyo would take off running. They chased after him and eventually caught up with Kyo. The man was hiding in the back of a vehicle that was oddly enough being driven by Kyo's father. Kyo was immediately detained, and when police performed a search of the vehicle, they would make an unsettling discovery. A discovery that highlighted the potential danger posed by this deranged stalker. In the vehicle, police found a bag that contained a bizarre collection of items, many of which seemingly conveying that Kyo had sinister intentions in mind. The items included parcel tape, a screwdriver, gloves, binoculars, an eye mask, scissors, a hip flask containing ammonia, a syringe and needle, plastic flowers, and what appeared to be a gold-colored sex toy. Upon the discovery of these items, he was immediately arrested and charged with stalking. During his interrogation, Kyo would admit to the various disturbing communications sent to the young woman, and he also admitted that he had taken photos of the girl's home. As far as the items go, Kyo said that the mask was for his flight, but reportedly had no explanation for the screwdriver, tape, and scissors. It's said that Kyo later claimed that the phallic golden object found in the bag was simply a face massager and not a sex toy. Police, however, insisted it was a dildo. According to reports, Kyo's parents said that the man used the syringe to treat an infection that he had, and that the ammonia was used to bring Kyo out of epileptic fits. And to explain why the father was in the area with a vehicle, it's been reported that Kyo's dad was an international furniture salesman and just so happened to be in the area on business. The father was initially detained under suspicion of aiding Kyo in the stalking of the woman.
So if you help the creep harass an individual, You are just as guilty, which is why I label people as online predator supporters.
But he was later released after authorities determined that the dad had no idea that his son was stalking this person. It's hard to say exactly what the fuck was going on with this sinister kit. While some of the items were given rational explanations, other items such as the screwdriver were not. And you also have to remember the disturbing emails that Kyo had sent, one of which described that sort of like torture scene that he up in his head, and the items used in that scene. One might think that this is like a prep kit to enact that. Because of this bizarre kit, Kyo was initially hit with an additional charge on top of stalking, that being intent to commit a sexual offense. But this charge would later be dropped. The logic behind its removal being that if Kyo was about to commit a sexual offense, he would have likely had the kit on his person, not in his father's car. In regard to the stalking charge, Kyo's defense team claimed that their client was socially isolated and came to the United Kingdom, quote, not to cause her physical harm, but instead to, quote, progress in what he believed was a relationship. They basically said he had no ill intentions, he just wanted to go and talk to the girl and convince her that he was actually a nice guy and that he was sorry for saying all that crazy shit. However, this defense fails to speak on the emotional distress and trauma Kyo's actions caused his victim. The judge presiding over the case had this to say: cyberstalking is a plague to the 21st century. The victim was left unable to sleep, and her trust shattered.
Some people don't understand how damaging it is to betray someone's trust.
In light of his stalking crime, the judge ultimately ruled to sentence Kyo-ne to 21 months in jail and issued an indefinite restraining order to protect his victim from any future unwanted advances.
Now, Ima debunked this claim they made of their reasoning for harassing me was supposedly because I falsely made them out to be a pedophile. Which, if you paid attention closely, they are getting mad at being called something they clearly are, when the actual reason behind their harassment wasn't because I falsely accused them of being a pedophile, but rather they saw I was a pretty girl and was mad I didn't prove my identity because I was pretty and caught their eye, and they tried to force me to talk to them. And when I didn't, they assumed I was a catfish. This was later backed up by his own friends. I don't know why they are talking about people being dangerous. And they are leaking random people IP address, as that's illegal and dangerous. For random strangers online to know where you live. And they were doing this since 2022, as the date from the messages was long before I started exposing them. This was later backed up to be true by Conf himself. They basically look through Discord for pretty girls, trying to solicit them, and if you refuse to engage with them like with me, they will begin to harass you, trying to force you to submit to them. As is common in online predators with an obsession, I'll link the people who support their ways down in comments. So stay tuned.